Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. It's now time for the featured bout of the evening. From the four corners of the world to the four corners of this ring, the fight starts now!
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special. And there's no hype. I'm telling you, it's special.
No respect to this guy. Let's go.
Now he's got that fire inside!
You better believe it now. That was something special.
Canelo gets the win!
20 rounds, 12 team victories.
It is over!
Her professional record, a perfect one.
Remember, capture the body.
Great finish from a great finisher.
It was Lamb versus Lion, and still the undisputed champion of the world.
Welcome to Midtown Manhattan Church Street Boxing Gym in Chelsea. This is Matchroom Boxing presents Training Day. Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. We're going to have the media workout. I am your host, Karan Bhatia, joined by the CEO of Matchroom, Frank Smith. Frank, how are you doing?
Really good. Sorry for the delay. New York internet issues. Well, but we're going ahead.
Well, it can happen, and we're here at the live media workout. We have a stacked card. We're going to see a lot of the fighters in action. And, of course, we're headlined by Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. So before we see a couple fighters get in the ring, let's talk about the history of this fight. Originally, it was ordered by the IBF. There was a bidding process. Matchroom was at one point outbid almost by double by another entity. What were your thoughts when you saw that bidding process?
I remember I was on the call when it all happened, and when they read it out, I think everyone was quite shocked. But it was great for the sport that, people were investing. And look, we're delighted to have it. It's a huge fight. It's a huge fight for the lightweight division. Many big fights to come for the winner of this. And it's also great to be working with Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos again, who we had on our previous show against Zhilei Zhang. So, I'm very glad we got it done in the end.
Teofimo Lopez, of course, going to be making the first defense of his unified lightweight titles. George Kambosos, the undefeated challenger from Australia. And the thing about this fight, it's going to be a great fight stylistically, a great matchup, but at the same time, there's a lot of bad blood. These guys don't like each other.
No, not at all. We've seen that, and I'm sure we're going to see that at the press conference this week when they come head-to-head tomorrow in New York, and then, we're working on a few other bits and pieces. It's going to be a real entertaining fight week all the way through to that weigh-in, and then, it all comes down to Saturday night, and like you say, Teofimo Lopez's first defence. George Kambosos, he came through the hard fight with Zhilei Zhang. I think it's going to be a great fight, and it's again, like I say, huge for the lightweight division. And with Devin Haney against Jojo Diaz coming up next week as well, it's really exciting times.
There's been so many false starts to this fight. Teofimo got COVID, then the fight date was moved. It's finally happening, November 27th, Madison Square Garden in New York. But we also have a great undercard, including Azinga Fuzile, Kenichi Ogawa. We got the Albanian bear, Rashad Mati, in action. Zhilei Zhang is going to be back. Raymond Savage Ford, Ramla Ali, and Christina Cruz, who you see in the ring there. So who are you excited about on this undercard?
It's a stacked card, obviously, as you say. Obviously the Fuzile Ogawa fight, the 130-pound IBF title. There's a lot of big opportunities coming up next year. We've got the likes of Zelfa Barrett, Joe Caldina, who could fight the winner there. Rashad Mati in a step-up fight, fighting in his first 10-rounder, first title fight. That's going to be really good. Zhilei Zhang back after a long, he's had a long period out now. So it'd be good to get him back in the ring. And, stacked undercard as well. And before the bell, you got Raymond Ford in a big fight. Ramla Ali comes to New York after her last fight in Vegas. Christina Cruz, who we're going to see in just a second, and Anthony Herrera's professional debut. So, yeah, look, stacked card throughout, and we're really excited to get it up and running. And as you say, finally get that main event to take place.
It's been a long time coming for boxing fans for that main event, but let's get underway here. At the training day, we got Christina Cruz. She goes by the Hell's Kitchen Kid. She's from New York, and she's going to be fighting, of course, in Madison Square Garden, 112 pounds. She boasts a 1-0 record, undefeated, 38 years old, and we're seeing her get loose in the ring. She is going to be taking on Mary Quinn Belinga. in that matchup. That's going to be the second fight out of Before the Bell. Certainly looking forward to that. Christina Cruz was on the 2020 Puerto Rican Olympic qualifying team. It looks like she's getting loose over here, doing some shadow boxing. And Frank, while we still have you here, let me talk to you about this. We've been talking about this more recently as we've been seeing better and better women's fights, but women's boxing is certainly having a moment right now, it feels like.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a great time. You know, we saw last week, we had Callie Reese went in there and, you know, became unified champion, and a great performance by Jessica Damara. You know, Chantel Cameron beat Mary McGee. We've obviously got the big 140-pound undisputed tournament there as well, which we're building up to. Katie Taylor, who, you know, has really flown the flag for women's boxing and, you know, come so far, and, you know, fighting December 11th against a WBA mandatory Sharapova, and then hopefully we can make the big one, Amanda Serrano. But, you know, it's a great time, and, you know, we always, you know, people used to talk about women's boxing, but now it is just, you know, you take the women part out of it, it's huge for the sport of boxing. And, you know, they're all delivering in some great fights. You know, you look through the divisions as well. Jessica McCaskill is going to defend her undisputed titles on our Las Vegas show against Bustos. So, you know, it's a great time, and those divisions 130 all the way to 147 really got them locked off for some big fights.
Absolutely. Alicia Bumgardner defeated Terry Harper in a great knockout win. She wants Choi next. She wants to unify. There's also Michaela Mayer out there. Possibility. Yeah,
Michaela Mayer, obviously, she fought against our fighter Maida Hamadushi in a great fight in Vegas. Scorecards weren't quite what the fight was, but, you know, another great fight. And like you say, so many brilliant female fights in recent times, and so many more to come.
And the other part of it is that a lot of these fights, especially on these undercards, are opportunities for people to make a statement. So right now we're seeing Christina Cruz. She is 1-0. Her opponent, Merigwin Velinga, is 3-1-2. And it's going to be her opportunity to try to make a statement. Her opponent, Velinga, is 39 years old. She actually had a climbing accident where she hurt her ankle. She used boxing as a way to recover, and that led to a career. And now she's going to be taking on Christina Cruz. That is going to be the second fight on Saturday night for Before the Bell on Matchroom Boxing. We're getting a lot of unification fights. You mentioned Jessica McCaskill, who is an undisputed champion. One thing that's interesting about this card, we were talking about the great main event that we're all looking forward to. The belt situation for Teofimo Lopez is an interesting one, right? Because he has 3 belts, and then there's the WBC situation. He has the franchise championship, and then Devin the Dream Haney, who we're actually going to see on December 4th, has the regular version of that WBC belt. So what are your thoughts on you know, the belt situation with the WBC in terms of lightweight?
Yeah, I mean, the franchise one's always very interesting. Gets a lot of people talking, doesn't it? You know, but maybe that's a good reason why we get to see the Devin Haney fight. We can crown a true undisputed champion. You know, I know Teofimo says he's undisputed, which, you know, he fought Vasily Lomachenko, who, you know, many regarded as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world at the time. And but, you know, hopefully that means we can get that big fight on. It's one that I'm sure a lot of people will look forward to. You know, Devin Haney's got a test against Jojo Diaz on December 4th in Vegas, but, you know, one we believe he gets through. He had a great performance against Linares previously, you know, and Teofimo gets through against George Kambosos. What a massive fight that would be. And like I say, crown a true undisputed lightweight world champion.
Absolutely. But first, Devin Haney does need to get by Jojo Diaz. And I actually asked Eddie this last week, and I'll ask you too. Devin Haney was originally supposed to take on Ryan Garcia, right? Ryan Garcia had the hand injury.
Or Jojo Diaz.
Excuse me, yeah, he was right. But Devin Haney, at one point, my understanding was that he was willing to jump in to take on Tank Davis when Tank Davis needed a new opponent. Is that accurate?
Yeah, one thing about Devin Haney, you'll always find he will take on any test. You know, he's not worried about staying away from any fighters, and that's what makes him the star he is. He's a great talker, great character, and, you know, he wants the toughest tests.
Absolutely. So we have this weekend, Lopez Kambosos, December 4th in Las Vegas, Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz, and a great undercard for that one. Jessica McCaskill, the undisputed champion, is going to be in action. Filip Hrgovic is going to be in action on December 4th. Ammo Williams is making a comeback. I think we're all happy to see him back. And as we look back in the ring here, Christina Cruz getting way on the mitts. And let's listen in for a sec. I want to hear the pop on these punches.
I didn't know this about her history. 7 times USA national champion.
7-time USA national champion, 2 times world medalist. She lives in Hell's Kitchen. She's representing Puerto Rico. We saw a great Puerto Rico versus Mexico bout last week on the undercards before the bell with Nelson Perez. And we know Puerto Rican fighters are always going to bring something in to the table.
Yeah, definitely. But even looking at her amateur record, 140 fights nearly, or just over 140 fights. Quite amazing.
That is absolutely amazing. She's a professional now, 1-0. She is 38 years old because she had that long amateur career. But she grew up walking distance from Madison Square Garden. And now she's going to be fighting there on Saturday nights.
I think she's nearly done, and we're going to have Zhilei Zhang in the ring next, so she'll come down and do an interview with you.
Christina Cruz getting loose in there. Again, she's going to be taking on Marigwin Velinga, who had a climbing accident, hurt her ankle, and boxing was a way to rehab. And now she's going to be challenging Christina Cruz, who I'll be speaking to in a moment here. We're coming to you live from Church Street Boxing Gym in Chelsea, Midtown Manhattan. There's the downtown location. We're at the Midtown one. And soon I'm going to be joined by Christina Cruz, the Hell's Kitchen Kid. And in the ring, Zhilei Zhang, the heavyweight, 6'6" from China. They call him Big Bang. He said that it would be his ultimate dream to one day face Anthony Joshua in China. That's his dream. Maybe it'll happen.
It's good. He's going to have he's got 8-round fight this weekend. Come back. He had a tough fight in his last one, but come back, and then there's some big fights out there for him. A lot of big opportunities in the heavyweight division right now. Absolutely.
And after his last fight, there were a lot of medical problems related to dehydration. But he said he's feeling better now, and we're seeing him in there. I mean, he looks fresh. He looks like he's throwing with power. He's got speed, so it looks like he's back.
Yeah, he's in great shape. Hopefully a big performance this weekend. And as I say, early part of next year, some big fights and big opportunities out there for him.
Before that, he's going to have to get through Craig the Beast Lewis, who is far too... And we're going to let Frank Smith take care of the important business that he needs to. And I am joined here by Christina Cruz.
Hey.
Christina Cruz, the Hell's Kitchen Kid.
Yes.
So we're right now in Midtown Manhattan.
Midtown Manhattan.
You grew up in Hell's Kitchen.
Born and raised just steps away from the garden.
And so what does it mean for you to now be fighting on Saturday night at Madison Square Garden, near where you grew up?
It is a dream come true. I fought here before as an amateur in Madison Square Garden. I got to make history as an amateur, beating Mark Breland's Golden Glove record. And to come back as a pro is just as special.
And your amateur record, correct me if I'm wrong here, 93-39.
That's about
right. Yeah. So you had that many amateur fights. Why did you...
Actually, you said 93. I have over 200 amateur fights. That might be a little off, but yeah. But it's around...
So it's around that number.
It's around, yeah.
You are now 38 years old.
38,
So
yes.
you decided to have a long amateur career before turning professional. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, the plan was never to turn pro. The plan was to go to the Olympics and then retire. But the pandemic had different plans for me. It kind of ruined my chances of qualifying for the Olympics because of the pandemic. They didn't have the American qualifier, so I couldn't go to it. So went back to my coach. We talked about it, and he's just like, let's turn pro. I was like, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's turn pro. You're now an undefeated pro. You're 1-0. You're going
Thank you.
for 2-0. Now, another big part of your story is I know you're from New York, but you're representing Puerto Rico,
Yes.
right? So what does that mean to you to represent Puerto Rico?
It means everything. I grew up in the Puerto Rican culture here in New York City. My family still lives out in Puerto Rico. I got to be on the Puerto Rican national team before I retired from amateur boxing. So it means everything to be able to represent the island and my people.
There's been so many great professional fighters that have come out of Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Miguel Cotto, Felix Trinidad. Who are some of your favorite fighters from Puerto Rico?
Benitez, my favorite #1 fighter. I love Cotto. I love the way Cotto presented himself in the sport. I love Tito Trinidad, all of them.
And let's look at some of your handiwork. This is slowed down, don't worry.
Okay.
So you got loose in there.
Yeah.
Well, this was a small workout. You just hit some mitts. What were you thinking about in there?
Just working on things that we're going to do in the fight. Getting, I guess, used to I just traveled here, so kind of just getting used to the environment and just getting comfortable in the ring.
And we're looking at some of your handiwork here, hitting the mitts here. We could hear a little snap on those.
Yeah. I'm 112 pounds, but I got snap.
And your opponent on Saturday night, Marigwin Valinga. So what do you know about your opponent?
So she did fight in the amateurs at the same time I did. We never got a chance to actually fight each other. We were always on opposite ends of the bracket. But we did spar in the past. And so I know her very well. I got to see her fight as an amateur. Never really saw her fight as a pro, but just going to go in there with my game plan.
And when you sparred with her in the past, what was that experience like?
It was a good experience. I felt like I always had the upper hand. I think I'm the more experienced fighter. She does have an amateur background, but I think I just done a little bit more than she has. So.
And if you look at Valinga's story, she actually had a climbing accident, hurt her ankle, and she used boxing as a way to rehab, and then eventually it led to a career. So,
that's
I mean,
awesome.
when you hear that, what does that say to you about someone's resilience and resolve to turn an accident into an opportunity?
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I actually know a lot of athletes who came from other sports, got injured in that sport, and then came to boxing because they couldn't do that sport anymore because of their specific injury. And it is resilient. They found another way to figure out something that they love to do.
And we've been talking about your story, being from Hell's Kitchen. You're now living in Florida, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm training full-time in Florida. I'm back and forth all the time, so.
And in terms of her, we mentioned your opponent's story. Mm-hmm. It seems like your story has that too, right? There was a setback with COVID, and that propelled you to become a professional boxer.
Yes. It was a little heartbreaking, but turning pro kind of renewed a spark for me. It's almost like I'm learning again the sport of boxing, and it feels like the first day I walked into the boxing gym. I remember like all the jitters and that stuff, the butterflies, and I have that right now, and it feels amazing. And
so you're 1-0, you're going for 2-0, as we mentioned. What are your overall goals in professional boxing? What do you hope to achieve?
I hope to, of course, become a world champion, possibly in different weight classes in a short amount of time. And then I have some personal goals outside of boxing that I would like to achieve as well that I think boxing will help me with.
Well, Christina Cruz, best of luck to you on Saturday night. Looking forward to seeing your fight. Thank you for spending time with us here. And hope to see you soon.
For sure.
Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. That was Christina Cruz. And next up, we are going to be getting our next fighter into the ring here for Matchroom's training day. And I'm going to next be joined by Zhilei Zhang.
Yes.
Zhilei, how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good. So we know your nickname, the Big Bang. So
Yeah.
what's the origin story? How did that come together?
为什么是 Big Bang 是你的绰号？
就像一颗炸弹一样大爆炸。然后我希望我在重量级的世界拳坛上面，然后爆一下。
Big Bang is the origin of everything. I just feel like I'm a bomb. So I just want to take the stage on the heavyweight, make it a big bang.
And so on Saturday night, you're going to be taking on Craig the Beast Lewis, and we'll talk about that. But as I was doing research on you and your story, you said one of your dreams is to fight Anthony Joshua in China. So why is that your dream?
为什么去中国跟约书亚打比赛是你的梦想？
因为约书亚在中国，他在世界上都是超级巨星，然后在中国也没有举办过这些顶级的拳击赛事。然后我想在中国我们俩打一场的话，然后在中国肯定会引起，在世界都引起一个 很大的轰动。
Joshua was a big star, and he still is, and he will be a big star. I believe that he never fought in China, and if we do that in China, it's going to be a huge situation.
Absolutely. I'm sure the Chinese fans would thoroughly enjoy that fight. So before we even talk about your fight on Saturday, we have to talk about your situation, because in your last fight, you knocked your opponent down 3 times early, but it was a draw. It seemed like you slowed down, and then we saw that you were taken to the hospital. I believe there's dehydration issues, a lot of health issues. So first of all, what happened, and are you okay, and have you recovered?
上一场比赛之后，你被送到了医院。到底是什么情况？在医院发生了什么情况？他说有一定的器官的衰竭，健康的原因，有脱水。到底是由于什么情况导致的？
主要是到佛罗里达之后，然后饮食不注意，饮水量少，然后最后导致比赛中，严重脱水，又导致肾脏和肾脏的衰竭，轻微的衰竭，但是经过恢复之后，到医院之后基本上就已经恢复了，但是体内的各种酶数值比较高，然后就在医生的建议下又多住了2天，然后等全部完全恢复正常之后才出院。其实就是一个赛前的一个失误。
It's funny how little things could change the whole game. Florida is humid, and I didn't even know that. So the whole week of training camp, I drink 2 bottles of water only, which caused dehydration during the fight. So I was taken to hospital. I had a mild kidney failure, and I had dehydration. I recovered when I was in the hospital, but doctor won't release me because certain enzyme in my body is still high. So pay attention to detail. Little detail can affect everything, but I'm 100% good right now.
It's good to know that you are 100% good, as we see Rashad Mati getting loose here at Matchroom's training day from Church Street Boxing. So you had the situation with the dehydration. Have you made the changes in camp to now hydrate properly? And do you think that's why in your last fight you maybe were sluggish towards the second half because of that dehydration issue?
针对这个脱水，你有没有在未来的训练中进行调整？那是不是由于脱水，你前段比赛的后半程感觉很吃力？是不是因为脱水的原因？做了哪些调整？
对，然后就是因为脱水，然后所以说后半程，然后打得非常非常吃力，然后就感觉整个身体都已经垮掉了。但是到最后2个回合，其实到最后2个回合我都不知道发生了什么事情，然后可能说大脑就一片空白。但是从上一次比赛之后，我们整个团队，从教练到经纪人啊，到所有的工作人员，我们坐在一起开会讨论，然后就是找出这个问题的所在，然后在下一步的训练营来改善这个饮水量、饮食啊这些，全部都做了很好的计划。
It was definitely because of the dehydration. The second half of my last fight was a nightmare. I didn't even remember what happened for the last 2 rounds, to be honest with you. After I came back, I sat down with my team. We changed the whole diet. We changed the whole nutrition. We changed strength conditioning training regimen. So, everything has changed. This is brand new now.
If you're just joining us, this is Karan Bhatia from Matchroom's Training Day. I'm speaking to heavyweight Zhilei Zhang, and in the ring you are seeing Rashad Mati. It's all leading up to our November 27th card. So, Zhilei, just a couple more questions before I let you go. You're going to be taking on Craig the Beast Lewis. He's had some experience. He's got 4 losses. He's got 14 wins. He's also trained with Deontay Wilder and Vladimir Klitschko. So, what do you know about your opponent, Craig Lewis, and how are you preparing for him on Saturday night?
你对他是怎么准备的？他跟维尔德是陪练啊，他也跟这个小克打过，14胜4负的战绩，你怎么准备的？
就按照每天教练我们一起研讨、一起讨论，然后做一些针对性的训练，然后对待每一天、每1分钟，重视起来就 OK 了。
I did study him, I did watch video, but at the end of the day, I just have to focus on my part. Me and my trainer sit down every day, we go over everything, so you will see, everything will be right.
Zhilei Zhang is listed at 6'6". Craig the Beast Lewis listed at 6'5". So, Zhilei, before we let you go, what would be your final message to your fans, your supporters in China and around the world?
最后跟你在中国的粉丝和在世界的粉丝有什么好说的？
谢谢 中国的粉丝，然后世界的粉丝，然后一直关注我，一直支持我，然后为我加油，然后我们周六见。
I just want to say thank you to all my fans in China and abroad for your huge support. Thank you for being there by my side. We'll see you Saturday.
Zhilei Zhang is taking on Craig Lewis on Saturday night, November 27th. It's on the undercard of Lopez Kambosos on Matchroom Boxing on the Zone. Zhilei, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
And we're going to keep it rolling here on Matchroom Boxing Presents Training Day. We just saw Rashad Mati in the ring. We're going to speak to him momentarily. And in the ring now is Azinga Fuzile, who's getting loose. Azinga Fuzile is going to be taking on Kenichi Ogawa. That is the chief support, the co-main event for Saturday night. And joining me here at Training Day from Church Street Boxing Gym is Rashad Mati. How are you doing, Rashad?
Good. How you doing? How's everything?
Good, good, good. So we saw you getting loose in there, doing your thing. How are you feeling right now?
I'm good. I'm ready to go. You know, this week's like the slow week. You just want to get it on and get it over with. You know, just get to go and put on a good show for everybody that's coming to watch.
And you are representing Albania, of course. Now, you grew up in Staten Island, right? But Albania is part of your culture. And you go by the Albanian Bear.
Yeah, I do.
Now, I actually read something about your nickname, that there was a chance your original nickname was going to be Mad Dog.
Yeah.
But then how did it change from Mad Dog to Albanian Bear?
First, it started off as a baby punch because I was constantly punching things when I was a kid. You know, when you get older, you have to go through it. But Mad Dog came in because I was just so crazy. I came in there for a kill. Now, Albanian Bear, you know, it came up. I'm Albanian. You know, I guess I could say I'm a little bit hairy, you know, but yeah, also when it comes into like this, I kind of make it a little more technical now. And then when it comes in like that, I come in ferocious too, like a bear, and, you know, that came in and it stuck.
So Mad Dog, Albanian Bear. Now, there's actually a third nickname that I know you've mentioned before, and that's the Body Snatcher, because you like to work to the body, and we were just looking at some highlights of your handiwork in there.
Absolutely.
So why is the body work so important for you?
It's just always been a thing that's been embedded to my brain. It was always a thing that I always loved to throw, and you can never really fully recover from a body shot. So I definitely recommend guys going to the gym, recommend your body shots, keep practicing, and become a body snatcher.
So you're 11-0, looking to get to 12-0, and you're going to be taking on Nicholas DeMario on Saturday night. This is, of course, the undercard of Lopez Kambosos. What do you know about your opponent, DeMario?
I know he's very durable. And out of 15 wins, he won, I believe, 9 out of knockouts. So he must be doing something right with his power-wise. And, you know, at the end of the day, I know my capabilities. And if I fight the way I'm supposed to fight, you know, I try to make it an easy night.
If you're just joining us, this is Karan Bhatia from Matchroom's Training Day. I'm speaking to Rashad Mati, and in the ring right now is Azinga Fuzile, who's getting loose. And we're chatting with Rashad Mati here. So, Rashad, you mentioned what you know about your opponent. Can we get an official prediction on the record from you?
For me, every fight I do, I try to last how many rounds I'm fighting. It's going to be a 10-rounder, so I'm looking forward to going to a full 10-round fest, you know, and just going there and putting on a great show for everybody. And if opportunity comes in, I'll try to take them out after 10, you know?
So a lot of fighters want to get a knockout. Sometimes they want to get a knockout early. Yeah. You want to get some rounds in, it sounds like.
Absolutely, yeah. The last fight I did was my first 8-rounder. I got the full 8 rounds in. I felt good. And I want to see if 10 goes well, too.
And before I let you go, I have to ask you about this because I've been doing some research about your story. My understanding is you fought Ryan Garcia, Virgil Ortiz, and Teofimo Lopez.
Yes, sir.
Who's going to be headlining on Saturday in the amateurs. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
So what was it like when you fought Teofimo?
It was good. I lost a very, very close split decision.
You're admitting you lost.
Oh, no, listen, the fight could have gone either way. I thought I won it, but I thought I won the fight, but, you know, they gave it to him, you know. But, you know, past the past, you know, if, you know, he comes up to 140, you never know what's going to happen.
And we look at Azinga Fuzile, who's hitting some mitts here. He's going to be the co-main event. The main event, of course, Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. And so, Rashad Mati, you fought Teofimo Lopez in the amateurs, so you have a unique perspective. So this main event, what are your thoughts? It's Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. Kambosos is undefeated. He's from Australia. We know, of course, who Teofimo Lopez is. What are your thoughts on that main event?
I think Teofimo was going to pull it off. You know, you know, he kind of reminds me of similarities of like kind of like Richard Comey. He kind of comes in crazy, Kambosos, yeah, and he kind of comes off a little bit, you know, full of steam, and he comes in trying to knock your head off, you know, and you know, I definitely respect him because he has definitely a lot of power. But, you know, it comes in like this. Teofimo is very, very experienced. I think he knows what's going on. He's been fighting different styles, so I think he'll be able to adapt and pull off the win.
So you expect it to be similar to the Comey fight where Teofimo was able to get a knockout?
Well, I think Teofimo's going to win by decision, but I think similarity style-wise, I think I would recommend him like kind of being similar to that.
And before we let you go, just tell people where they can follow you on social media and how they can keep up with you.
Of course. Follow me on Instagram because that's the one I follow the most. Official Rashad Mati. Rashad Mati 1 on Twitter and Rashad the Albanian Bear Mati on Facebook.
Rashad Mati, the Albanian Bear. It's one of the best nicknames in the sport, in my opinion. I want to thank you so much for the time, and best of luck on Saturday, November 27th. We're certainly going to be watching. It's Matchroom Boxing on the Zone.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Good to see you.
And that was Rashad Mati. Soon I'm going to be joined by Azinga Fuzile, who was just in the ring there. We've been talking about this great card, and Azinga Fuzile is the chief support. He'd be taking on Kenichi Ogawa, who we're seeing getting loose there in the ring. We're here at Church Street Boxing Gym, the Midtown Manhattan location. This is Matchroom Boxing's training day. We're seeing these fighters get warmed up. They're gonna get warmed up. They're gonna speak to us here. They're going to do some media as Fight Week continues here in New York City for the big Teofimo Lopez, George Kambosos card. And I'm personally very interested in this Fuzile versus Ogawa fight. And the reason for that is because from what we've seen in the past from Ogawa, as we see him getting loose here in the ring, he is an orthodox fighter. He's from Japan, and he's certainly had success, but he has had some issues with southpaws. And one of those southpaws that he's going to be taking on is Azinga Fuzile, who I am actually joined by right here on Matchroom's training day. So Azinga, how are you?
Good, and you?
Good. So we just saw you in the ring getting loose. So how are you feeling right now?
No, I'm good, man.
And so you're going to be taking on Kenichi Ogawa. And one of the things I was saying is that if you look at Ogawa, there have been some issues here and there in terms of southpaws. He was knocked down in his last fight when his opponent turned southpaw. He beat Tevin Farmer, but it was a very close fight. He was a southpaw, and there's been a few more things. You are a southpaw, so safe to say that you're going to be looking to have that advantage and use that southpaw ability.
Yeah, man. I've watched his fights against the southpaws, and I've saw that thing, you know, and I'm going to take that chance, you know, as my advantage as a southpaw. Yeah.
And I've been reading about your story. You mentioned that you were getting stronger and stronger each and every day. No time to sleep. The dream is big, right? These were your words. So what is the dream for you? What's the eventual goal?
It's to be a world champion. Since I was still a young boy, my dream was to be a world champion. Now, by Saturday, my dream will come true, you know. But unfortunately, like, I wanted to fight for WBC, you know. That's my dream belt. You know, now it's with Valtez. So my way is there.
And before I let you go, a couple of fights ago, you had a TKO loss against Rakimov, right? But later on, there was some smelling salts found in his corner, and that decision was changed. And when you look back at that experience, I mean, what do you remember about that experience?
You know, it taught me like a lot in boxing. You know, when you don't have a loss, you think, yeah, I'm good, you know, I'm great, yeah, no one can beat me, all that stuff. You know, you tell yourself, you know, until you get beaten, then you realize. And then from that fight, I've learned a lot, you know. So when I was fighting Martin Ward, you know, I was just trying to correct my mistakes, you know, and then it happened successfully, and then I knocked Martin Ward round 7. So, yeah, to have a loss, it can teach you, you know.
And with the fight with Martin Ward, that was a TKO win for you. What did you learn from that victory? That was a big comeback fight for you, right?
Yeah, it was a big comeback. Martin Watt is a very good boxer. You know, you can't like do whatever you wanna do to him just because he's moving. You know, he's counting everything. So what I've learned, speed, you know, and the power, and my eyesight must be sharp at all times.
And for anyone who is maybe new to your story, you're proudly representing South Africa, right? So what does that mean for you?
Hey, this is big for me. And bear in mind, in South Africa, like we don't have a world title. So if I grab this title, so it's something big, and this is big for me.
And you've had a lot of big fights in your career, but this is going to be the co-main event on Saturday night in Madison Square Garden. I mean, where does this rank in terms of all the fights that you've had in your career?
Yeah, this one, as I've said, it's big. You know, like for me to be a co-main event, it tells me something else. You know, so I gotta be serious and I gotta bring the title back to South Africa.
And we mentioned you're going to be taking on Kenichi Ogawa, who's a very skilled fighter in his own right. It's southpaw versus orthodox, of course. So how do you see the fight playing out on Saturday night, you versus Ogawa?
I can't say how I see it, you know. Let me tell you this. Let me show inside the ring, you know, let me show inside the ring what we're going to do, you know. Yeah.
You mentioned that you've been looking at tape on Ogawa. So what are some things that you've noticed when you watch tape on him?
He's a tough guy, you know, and he comes forward and he's got that left straight, right, left straight, you know, he always like throwing. So yeah, I think I'm gonna work on that, trying to count on that straight left. Yeah.
And one thing that can happen when a southpaw takes on an orthodox fighter is a clash of heads, right? Because it's just based on the way that people are standing. There could be a clash of heads. Are you thinking about that at all? That could be a possibility, an accidental headbutt or an accidental clash.
I will see it on Saturday, but I will try my means not to get a headbutt. You know, yeah. I will try to keep it clean. Yeah.
And I know that you are, playing it close to the vest as we see Teofimo Lopez entering the main event headliner. He's here at Church Street Boxing Gym. I know that you're playing it close to the vest in terms of how the fight's going to play down. But if you had to give one official prediction, what's going to happen on Saturday night? Is it going to be a knockout? Is it going to be an early knockout? What are you predicting?
It will depend on Ogawa. If he can take my punches, how he's going to take my punches, you know. I can't say it's a knockout or what. It's going to depend on him.
And you're hopefully going to be looking to make a big statement here and continue your rise. What would be your final message to your fans in South Africa and around the world?
I'm going to bring it home, so they mustn't worry. The champ is there, and they knew. Sure, thanks.
Azinga Fuzile, proudly representing South Africa. He's taking on Kenichi Ogawa on Saturday night. Thank you so much, and best of luck to you. Thank you. Thank you. That was Azinga Fuzile. He is going to be taking on Ogawa. That is the chief support, and the chief support for that man that you are looking at right there, Teofimo Lopez, the takeover. This fight has certainly been a long time coming. We know the history. Originally supposed to take place in June. Teofimo caught COVID. Fight was delayed until October, then delayed from October 4th to 16th. And then now finally it's in the hands of Matchroom and it's happening on November 27th. And I know boxing fans are even hesitant to say, is this fight actually happening? Because they've had to deal with so many false starts on this one. But one half of the main event is here, so that's a good sign. that means that this fight is 100% happening. Boxing fans have had to deal with a lot. Teofimo Lopez from Brooklyn, New York, certainly going to have the home field advantage. The fans have to just travel a short way from Brooklyn to Madison Square Garden. That's a little further than Australia, where George Kambosos is from. He's 19-0, the challenger. And I'm definitely curious to speak to Teofimo. He's a young man, only 24 years old. And this is the longest inactive streak of Teofimo Lopez's career. He's been inactive for 1 year and 1 month. and that's the longest time he's been inactive. He started boxing at age 6, and you know that he's been active for a long time in terms of professional bouts, 1 year and 1 month. And that was, of course, his history-making performance against many people ranked pound-for-pound #1, Vasily Lomachenko, but that fight was October 17th of 2020. And now we're looking at November 27th for this fight, so it's the longest inactive streak that he's had. There's also a lot of bad blood between Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos. George Kambosos said he looked into the eyes of Teofimo and he said he was soulless. He said he's a fraud. Those are George Kambosos' words. It's gotten a little bit personal. There's been family members mentioned, and there's definitely bad blood. But then there's also what this means for their boxing records, their boxing legacies, right? Teofimo Lopez, 16-0, 12 knockouts. George Kambosos, 19-0. So having an undefeated record nowadays in boxing can be a big marketing element. It can help you get big fights. And in this case, the old saying, someone's O has got to go. That's going to happen as long as it's not a draw on Saturday night. But in terms of legacy as well, this is the first title defense for Teofimo with the WBO belt, the IBF belt, and the WBA belt. He's, of course, the WBC franchise champion. The franchise belt will not be at stake on Saturday night.
You're wrong there, buddy. You're wrong there.
And
You're wrong there. The WBC franchise is at stake.
And I'm joined here by Teofimo Sr.
Yeah, but I just heard you say that.
Yes, has that changed? Okay, my understanding
yes, it has changed.
Okay, so the franchise belt will be on the line.
Yes, it will be on the line. I mean, it happened with Lomachenko. You know, you guys can't just ignore that belt, you know, because it happened with Lomachenko, and all those belts are on the line. Mauricio Suleiman will be there to award the champion of the WBC. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of all this BS with the franchise belt, and if my son is not undisputed or unified champion, he is undisputed. We beat the man to get what we had, okay? All these guys, and I don't want to name them, hasn't fought nobody to get that belt, you know? So we are the undisputed champions, you know? And the next guy that we're going to get is Josh Taylor, because I want that guy so bad, you know, easy to beat. My son's going to just make him look like nothing. And just the same way we did with Lomachenko. A lot of people don't understand the game of the boxing. Nobody's ever going to do what we did to Lomachenko. Lomachenko's the greatest fighter in the world. He will beat any 135-pounder right now. Anybody. I said it before he fought Nakatani, and I'm saying it right now. He is the best fighter in the world after my son. You know, and I had said that before, and when he fights Comey, the whole world's going to understand why. How come nobody answers? Like, how come nobody challenges him? Why is nobody challenging Lomachenko? We did it.
You did it, and that was my question for you, because that was a phenomenal win by your son, Teofimo Lopez. But that was a year and 1 month ago, and this is the longest career layoff for Teofimo Jr. So what do you think about that long layoff?
Listen, my son does better when he rests. You know, I don't want to talk about my training because those are secrets that we have. All I gotta say is, like, don't miss this fight. You know, stay tuned really early because it's gonna be a devastating knockout, very fast.
And can we get an on-the-record official prediction from you?
Well, I don't see it going past 3 rounds. I don't. You know, who the hell is Kambosos? You know, we doing this fight because it was a mandatory. We couldn't get away from it. Yeah. My son didn't want to let go of the IBF belt, and that's why we're doing this fight. And we're going to bigger and better things after this dude. You know, we're not overlooking nobody. We train to fight the best, always. And all I got to say is, like, tune in on November 27th. It's going to be a blowout. And I can't wait. You know?
We're so used to seeing young Teofimo knocking these guys out. We saw what he did to Richard Comey. We've seen it so many times. But against Lomachenko, he found the other gear, right? Where he started outboxing him and moving. And that was, so he just showed a whole nother gear. So what do you think we'll see on Saturday night, or does that depend on what Kambosos brings?
No, we're just coming straight for the knockout. We're coming straight for the knockout. But you see, a lot of people underestimate us. Like, they think that we're just going to walk him down and try to knock him out. No, that's not the plan. We're always going to box and figure out the plan and get him out of there quickly, you know. With the Lomachenko fight, he wanted to show the world that he could do different other things, in which I said it. I said my son is faster, my son is stronger, and my son is going to show the whole world a different Teofimo Lopez, and that's what he did in that fight. That's what he wanted to do. You know, I told him in the later rounds, around the 9th round, I told him, listen, this guy is fighting dirty. He's fighting dirty. He's coming in with his head. He's going to cut you. He's going to cut you. And I told him, you need to get him out of there. You know, he didn't listen to me for like about 2 rounds, and then in the 12th round, he listened to me, and he did what he did.
That Lomachenko definitely had a slow start, and that's because of what Teofimo was doing.
No,
in there.
because of the power.
Because of the power, and then it looks like you may be needed by Teofimo over here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teofimo Sr. He's going to be needed by his son, Teofimo Lopez, who's in the ring right now, getting warmed up. And what I was going to ask him about there was about Lomachenko, because Lomachenko was coming on towards the rounds 9, 10, 11. But then in the 12th round, Teofimo did what he needed to do to secure that victory, and that was a brilliant performance by him. You can tell the Teofimo Lopez team is not super happy about the whole WBC situation in terms of the undisputed or not unified. He's certainly unified because he definitely has at least 3 of the belts, but there's the franchise belt, which has confused the matter in a way where Devin Haney now is the regular WBC champion. So there's that situation in terms of if it is a undisputed fight versus a unification fight. But either way, it's a massive matchup. It's the first time that young Teofimo is going to be defending all of these belts against George Kambosos from Australia, 19-0, undefeated. And this is certainly one of the, we talk about marination process in fights. And I don't think that this fight has hit the overly marinated stage that some fights have at all. It was supposed to happen in June, then in October, now finally at the end of November. I don't personally feel like it's past its expiration date in any way. We have 2 young guys, Teofimo Lopez, 24, George Kambosos, 28 years old. So they're both 100% in their prime. You really can't argue that. They're both undefeated. Teofimo 16-0, George Kambosos 19-0. So it's later than we thought it was going to be, but I definitely do not feel like it is past its expiration date by any means. I think it's right on time. And if anything, as frustrating as the false starts were, they made us more excited for this matchup. They made us the anticipation even more. And the last time around in October, there was the whole issues about Kambosos' team and are they getting on the airplane from Australia? And we know that now everyone's here. Everything is in motion. We're here on Fight Week finally. As we take a look at Teofimo Lopez there, getting loose. For this fight, he said he practiced going southpaw, so I'm definitely eager to ask him about that. He said after fighting Lomachenko, I didn't beat the guy to not defend the belts. So in terms of him being inactive for 1 year and 1 month, the longest of his career, that isn't by choice. That was based on COVID, that was based on getting a matchup, that was based on the fight being delayed for other reasons. And when asked about Kambosos, he said, I have no respect for him at all. He feels like it's gotten personal in there, and that's one of the big issues for Teofimo and for Kambosos. They both feel like the other has gotten personal, and that's why there's a lot of bad blood in this fight. George Kambosos, certainly no slouch, sparring partner of Manny Pacquiao, as Pacquiao got ready for the Horn fight. They sparred 250 rounds together, George Kambosos and Manny Pacquiao. So that's certainly good company, certainly someone that you can absolutely learn from. In George Kambosos' last fight, he took out Lee Selby. This was a decision win, 12 rounds. And this was a big road win for Kambosos. So he has no fear in terms of going on the road and doing what he needs to do. And obviously he's going to be traveling this time around. We have Teofimo Sr. We're going to listen into what he's talking to the media in the ring.
65 will beat the shit out of Macheco. Check it out. Go look it up in the internet. It's there. I said it. And everybody that cracking up, oh, this guy's fucking crazy. I know what I got, bro.
I mean, we are crazy. You know, but the greatest of all times are crazy. You gotta have some crazy in you, man.
Always outspoken. Teofimo Sr. Same with Teofimo Jr. As we see him wrapping up in the ring. You know the smack talk. You knew the smack talk was going to be flying, which it certainly is. And we see Teofimo here putting on his wraps, getting ready to work out for the media. And I do think it needs to be mentioned again in terms of Teofimo, known as the knockout artist, known for the celebrations, the Fortnite celebration, the backflip, all of it. But in terms of Lomachenko, he did what he needed to do. He was able to box. He was able to move. He certainly showcased that signature power. But he was also able to move in there and find another gear. And as Teofimo Lopez Sr. said, the game plan against Kambosos is to get the knockout early. And that may be because of the bad blood. That may be to put a huge performance together as the headliner. It might be frustration from being out of the ring for as long as he is out of the ring. And let's listen in again here to Teofimo Sr. putting the gloves on Teofimo Jr.
Like I told Fat Joe yesterday, I said, what happened to Berlanga? I love them, but worried about Instagram. I love them, but this shit ain't easy.
And if you're just joining us, this is Karan Bhatia from Matchroom Boxing Training Day. It's the media workout. We're coming to you live from the Church Street Boxing Gym in Midtown Manhattan. There's two locations. We're here in the Chelsea location here. And Fight Week is upon us. New York City, this is a fight that boxing fans have wanted for such a long time. So many false starts. We're finally getting it. And in the ring there, you see the champion, unified champion at lightweight, Teofimo Lopez, getting laced up by his father and trainer, Teofimo Lopez Sr. If you listen to young Teofimo, he's a very positive man. He has positive thinking, affirmations. He said, "My mind is limitless." He likes to channel Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee. He says, "Every day is the weekend." And that positivity is certainly going to be needed because in June, when this fight was supposed to happen, he caught COVID. The fight was delayed for so long. And for someone that loves his craft as much as he does, he didn't want to be out of the ring for this long of a period of time. 1 year and 1 month. The longest inactivity that he's had in his career. We hear Teofimo hitting the mitts here with his father, Teofimo Sr. And let's listen in to some of the pop of the punches here as Teofimo Lopez hits the mitts.
Catch and shoot, baby. He doesn't know where I'm throwing.
Teofimo Lopez, the takeover. Undefeated through 16 fights, 12 of those by way of knockout. From Brooklyn, New York. He fights orthodox, but he did say, "I practice going southpaw for this fight." So it'll be interesting to see if he does turn southpaw against the orthodox fighter in Kambosos. Kambosos' parents of Greek descent. His grandparents hailed from Sparta, which is why Kambosos has the tattoo that says, "Never retreat, never surrender." It's a tattoo of Sparta war, and he's certainly going to need that when he challenges the unified champion at 135 pounds at lightweight, Teofimo Lopez, who's had a meteoric rise. And he did it through knocking fighters out, being exciting, being brash. In 2018, he took on Mason Menard, made quick work of him, knocked him out in the first round. Then took on Diego Magdaleno in 2019, 7th round knockout. Kept it going, more knockouts. Eventually he got the big shot in Madison Square Garden in 2019 against Richard Comey, who was absolutely no slouch. And Teofimo, we all know what happened there. The big looping right hand, knocking down Comey, and eventually getting the stoppage in round 2. That was a TKO win in 2019. And then, as we know, of course, the global pandemic hit in early 2020. And there was a pause in the boxing world. But in October of 2020, Teofimo challenged himself against who many considered the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world at the time, Vasily Lomachenko. A lot of people probably thought he was a little crazy for fighting such a top fighter so early in his career, but he was able to get the unanimous decision win. And if you look at the scorecards from that fight, 119-109, 117-111, and 116-112. So some of those were very wide, did have a dominant performance. Lomachenko did find a second win and come back towards the end of the fight, but Lopez was able to seal the victory, especially with a great 12th round performance. And in terms of 2021, it's been his fight, Teofimo's fight with George Kambosos. And let's listen in here to Teofimo hitting the mitts. And you can hear the pop there from Teofimo. And Teofimo Sr. says, "I want to save that for the fight." Teofimo Sr. joined me earlier. He said the plan is to go for a knockout. They're not going to box and move. Definitely curious to speak to Teofimo after he works out, ask him about that, get his official prediction. In case you're just joining us, this is Karan Bhatia here at Church Street Boxing Gym, Midtown Manhattan. It's Matchroom's training day, the media workout. We have a great card on Saturday, November 27th from Madison Square Garden, headlined by that man, Teofimo Lopez, the unified lightweight champion. He's going to be putting all of his belts on the line, including now, according to his father, the WBC franchise belt, which he's saying is also now going to be on the line. And that is against the challenger, George Kambosos, excuse me. 19-0, 10 knockouts. George Kambosos will have the height advantage, listed at 5'9.5". Teofimo listed at 5'8". But Teofimo does have the half an inch reach advantage to neutralize that. In June, Teofimo contracted COVID. The fight had to be postponed. And we're going to try to speak to young Teofimo Lopez momentarily as he takes the gloves off. He's the reason we're all here. The main event headliner, dealing with the longest inactive streak of his career. 1 year and 1 month. He's always been active his entire life. Started boxing at age 6, 170 amateur fights, 150 of those wins. We know as a professional, he's been very active, fighting multiple times a year. Started his boxing career in November of 2016, so about 5 years ago. Fought 6 times in 2017, 4 times in 2018, 4 times in 2019, and then of course 2020 taking down one of the best fighters in the sport, Zhilei Lomachenko. We will bring down young Teofimo Lopez momentarily, get his thoughts on this matchup versus Kambosos. He goes by the Takeover. He made the trip here from Brooklyn, New York. Certainly a home game. There were talks at one point in one iteration of this fight that it could take place in Australia. That was quickly changed, quickly resolved. Now the fight at Madison Square Garden. November 27th, it's Matchroom Boxing. It's on the Zone. The main card starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. Some of the names that we mentioned. It's going to be a stacked card, and let's listen into Teofimo.
The thing is that they can't do it like I do. I'm the one that, look at this, I house guys to this shit. You know what I'm saying? I house guys to this shit.
My DraftKings account every time you fight, man. Get paid every time you fight, man.
Yeah, man. Put your money on.
And we will be speaking to our main event headliner, Teofimo Lopez, shortly. If you're just joining us, this is Karan Bhatia from the Church Street Boxing Gym in Chelsea, New York. We are a stone's throw from where the fight's going to be on November 27th, Madison Square Garden. That man will be headlining. Teofimo Lopez. And we're looking to speak to him shortly. He's making his way outside the ring. The Takeover. Defending his belts. And
what's up, baby?
I am joined by Teofimo Lopez, the Takeover. Teofimo, how are you?
Great, man. I'm blessed to be here today and just to be on Matchroom and the Zone, man. It's a pleasure to be here in New York, Madison Square Garden. This is the Mecca of boxing, my home.
This is your home, and there were so many false starts to this fight. They were supposed to be in June, then you got COVID, then it moved to October, and now November. So that leads us to this being the longest layoff of your career, 1 year and 1 month. Now, that wasn't intentional, but is that going to have an effect on Saturday night?
No, not at all. Shouldn't have no effect at all. And to be honest, man, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'm looking forward to see how much, 9 months in camp pretty much for George Kambosos, for one fighter. You know, I'm looking forward to showing everybody what I could do in there, throughout this whole time, perfecting my craft.
And I read that during this fight, you've been practicing going southpaw a little bit. Is that accurate?
Yes, accurate. Very accurate.
Obviously, Kambosos is orthodox. So do you plan to break out that southpaw stance on Saturday night?
If the fight goes further than the first round, absolutely. But I don't see it going past the first round. And I look forward to just showcasing as much as I can for as long as that man can take my punches. So for the duration of the fight, I'm looking forward to just give as much as I can to the people and to all the fans and all the supporters out there, so that way they see that I'm on the next level.
George Kambosos is making the trip from Australia. He's undefeated. You're undefeated.
Yes.
Now, there's definitely bad blood between you two. And Kambosos said, he looked in your eyes, he said you were soulless, and he said you were a fraud. So your response to Kambosos would be what on those comments?
That's my response. Good job. Good job.
Has it gotten personal at all for you?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I think that there's a fine line or a silver lining when it comes to business and personal. And sometimes people just find a way to just push away the business and just focus on personal. And George Kambosos went to that route, disrespected my team and my family. So that's something that I don't take lightly. You know, so I'm looking forward to definitely just putting on a show, but letting him know, you know, and amongst all the other guys in my division, amongst everybody in the boxing, don't mess with my family, don't fuck with me.
And we saw in your last fight when you dethroned Vasily Lomachenko, it was an incredible performance, but it wasn't what we've seen sometimes from you in the past, where you knock a guy out real quick. You boxed, you moved, you showed a whole nother part of your arsenal, your toolkit. And I spoke to your father earlier, and I said, what's the Teofimo Lopez we're going to see on Saturday night? He said, we're going for the knockout. Is that how you feel as well?
Yeah, when the knockout comes, it comes. You know, we're not looking for the knockout, but he knows what I'm capable of doing, just like myself. You know, and it's been showing in the gym, countless hours. It's been showing in my sparrings. And, man, I'm just looking forward to November 27th, Saturday night, against George Kambosos Jr., so I can display that, come that night against him, and so everybody can see it live on the Zone.
It's going to be live on the Zone, Matchroom Boxing. So in terms of a stylistic matchup,
yes,
I know that you've said you feel like Kambosos fights with his head forward, fights on his front foot, right? Is that what you've been seeing in tape, and how are you going to counteract that?
It's not that I watch in tape, it's what I get from my coach. You know, my father, he sees everything. He's the one that tells me what these fighters, what their pros and cons are when they come in there. So it's all about just focusing on that and listening to my coach, preparing myself well. And I mean, he's trainer of the year 2020 for a reason. So I just listen to him, man, and I have a lot of faith in it. So I'm looking forward to, you know, November 27th.
And speaking of your faith, we've seen you're a very positive person, right? You write affirmations, journaling. So what is your process to just stay so positive? And what are the affirmations? What are the things that you do?
Life is too short to stress about something that God could fix for you. You know what I'm saying? So you just I let all my worries and all my problems go to the man above. I let him deal with all those things, and I just focus whatever day I got today, take advantage of it. Meditation, you know, meditation is key, man. Meditation is key to connecting with the universe, man. I don't mean to be on some spiritual tip, but I mean to tell everybody, man, that's what helped me. You know, and for me, I'm just looking forward to trying to just get back to the community, get back to the people. Staying positive, man, is what I do. This is what I love to do. You got to stay positive. There's so much negative going around in this world, and I think that just a little bit of positivity will give people some light and give them some faith and some happiness.
Absolutely, and that's been specifically important for you, I feel like, in 2021, because 2020 you dethroned Lomachenko. I know that you said you don't even like to sleep after fights because you want to enjoy that victory.
Yes.
Is it true that you stayed up for 3 days after you beat Lomachenko?
I did. I did. I try to stay up as long as I can and as I could, and you know, 3 days was my max for me. And because, you know, I think about it, you know, if you really think about it, it's the moment, at least for me, my mentality is the moment I go to sleep, I wake up, it's a new day for me. It's a new fresh start. It's a new goal, new mindset, new things to achieve in life. So that's why, you know, they say, man, you know, life is short. So I'm trying to exceed to the pinnacle of everything.
So on Saturday night, if you do what you want to do against Kambosos, how many days are you going to be staying up here?
Who knows? Who knows? You know, I'll try to get some sleep now that I have my son on the way. Like, my son is born. He was just born a week ago.
Congratulations.
And thank you. So, you know, the fifth Teofimo Lopez. So I'm looking forward to, you know, just that really, you know, the belts and everything is great. The victory is going to be awesome. But carrying my son after this whole thing, man, it's going to be the biggest gift that I could receive from everything else.
And in terms of your personal life, I mean, outside looking in, someone could say that 2021 maybe was a difficult year for you personally because you had COVID. I know that you mentioned in the Matchroom piece that followed you behind the scenes that you split with your partner. So 2021 would have been a hard year for you, but you have a positive mentality, and now you're getting ready to defend your belts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's been hard, you know, postpones after postponements and everything, and COVID-19, and then, you know, yeah, just recently, yeah, the split between me and his mother, my son's mother. So, you know, I think all those things, man, I could let that kill me, but I don't, you know, I let that just build me to make me stronger I feel like maybe God has something bigger for me and you know, or something better. So I just look at it as everything happens for its reasons. I live my life like that, you know, so I think in reality, man, I don't try to stress over anything, because if I dwell on it, I'm not going to go nowhere. It's all about moving forward, keep moving forward, or like Pixar and Disney, man, just keep swimming.
And in terms of everything happening for a reason, do you feel that that's what happened with this fight? It was supposed to be in June, then moved to October, then again now to the end of November. Do you feel like this is divine timing? It's all happening for a reason?
Everything happens for its reasons, yeah. You know, November, fighting finally here, man. It's a blessing, man. It's a dream come true. Madison Square Garden, you know, I'm thankful for everybody making this happen. Thankful for everybody watching this right now, man. It's a pleasure. I'm honored. and I just want to continue this, man. What motivates me the most, I'll tell you guys, I want my voice to be heard. You know, just like everybody wants their voice to be heard, so do I. You know, I would love to just give that back to the communities and give them that inspiration and that hope that me at 24 and going through all that's going on, nothing can stop what God has planned for you. So just keep yourself strong-minded, stay focused on your vision, man, and just love yourself first, man. You can't love nobody. Can't love nobody unless you love yourself first.
And we're seeing you living that out. You're living proof. This isn't just stuff you're saying. We see the smile on your face. We see you in the ring. So just a couple more questions before I let you go. So you're from Brooklyn. He's from Australia. Now, at one point, at one iteration of this fight, there was rumors that it might have been in Australia. Was there any chance that you would have boarded a plane to go to Australia for this fight?
If it presents itself, yeah. You know, I'm the type of guy that I fight anyway. You know what I'm saying? The only thing is, when it comes to it, you know, Australia would have been a great platform as well, but things happened the way they did. It didn't work out, and for those reasons, you know, I look forward to just doing bigger and better things. Right now, my main priority, though, Madison Square Garden, New York, MSG, Hulu Theater, man. For everybody, tune in, man. November 27th, live on DAZN. Get the app now, and just tune in, man. It's going to be one to watch. We have a great undercard, a lot of young upcoming fighters on the horizon as well with Matchroom. So it's going to be great.
And final question for you. On the record, we talked about Kambosos. If you were to give an official prediction, what would it be?
Everybody, put your money on the first round. I guarantee you, mark my words, that's what's going to happen. First round knockout.
There you have it. Teofimo Lopez headlining on Saturday night from Madison Square Garden. It's Matchroom Boxing. It's on DAZN. Teofimo, thank you so much and best of luck to you.
Thank you guys so much and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
That was Teofimo Lopez, and he is going to be taking on George Kambosos. A confident young Teofimo Lopez. He is feeling good even though he's dealt with a couple setbacks, had COVID, the fight was pushed back. But he says he's feeling better than ever. He's a positive person. He's very excited and motivated for this huge matchup. And I think for boxing fans, I mean, this is the fact that this is actually happening is the biggest thing. I mean, they've been waiting for this for so long. And let's take a look there at Teofimo Lopez hitting the mitts. And I'm joined here again by Frank Smith, CEO of Matchroom Boxing. So I don't know how much you heard of Teofimo, but he's a very confident and happy man. He seems like he's ready to go for Saturday night, which is great.
Yeah, he's a brilliant talker, as we all know, and he likes talking. He reminds me of Eddie a little bit. They both talk as much as each other, but no, he's ready to go. You know, he's a talented, very, very talented young fighter, and has got the full package really. Can't wait to get in the ring. As you say, a long time out the ring.
A year and 1 month. This is the longest period that he's been inactive. That wasn't on purpose. We know he had COVID. We know the fight was pushed back. Those were out of his control. But at the end of the day, it's 1 year and 1 month out of the ring. That was when he fought Vasily Lomachenko over a year ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, so, you know, he's got a lot of pressure going back in there on Saturday night after that time out. You never really know how people are going to come back after the time out of the ring, but he looks in great shape, looked great on the pads in there. You know, exciting fighter. I can't wait for it now.
It's not going to be an easy task for Kambosos, but Kambosos is absolutely no slouch either. He's undefeated. He's coming from Australia. He's hungry, and I think we've been talking about this all day. There's bad blood involved, and that can work two ways. Certain fighters can be motivated by that. Sometimes it can be distracting. How do you see the bad blood playing out for each man?
Yeah, we've seen bad blood in a lot of fighters. You know, the likes of Anthony Joshua when he fought Dillian White. That was probably a completely different fight. You know, because of the sort of hatred between the two guys at the time. You know, this has been a long time coming. There's been a lot said in the build-up, and I think that is going to play into the fight. But you know, George Kambosos, who we're going to be joined by any second in the ring, you know, he's as you say, undefeated fighter as well. This can change his life. You know, if he goes in there and gets that win on Saturday night, it completely changes his life, and huge opportunities and fights there to be made for him. So you know where he's got that. He's got a lot of passion. He's going to go in there and he'll believe he can do the job as well.
That's the thing. These big fights can change lives of fighters. We mentioned Alicia Baumgartner recently. That knockout win will change her life and the trajectory of her career. Other big fighters who have made big statements. They will change their life. And that's what George Kambosos is looking to do here on Saturday night. So let me ask you one more thing. When I was speaking to Teofimo Lopez Sr. earlier, and this may be still being worked out, but we know that Teofimo is a unified champion with the WBO, the IBF, the WBA. The WBC franchise belt, according to Teofimo Sr., is actually going to be on the line on Saturday night. So there's a chance for George Kambosos to become the WBC franchise champion at lightweight.
Yeah, the WBC franchise will be on the line as well. So, it's an opportunity for him to go in there and win and rip all those belts away. He's got to come over here to New York. He's got a real tough test, but he's got everything in his eyes of what he can walk away with. He can go away with 3 of the major belts, the franchise belt as well, and then the opportunity to let's do the undisputed fight, as I said earlier, against Devin Haney.
That's what's in trend, and that's what we love in boxing. These undisputed fights. We mentioned Jessica McCaskill, undisputed. That's what we want. And we're gonna keep it going here from Church Street Boxing Gym.
You're gonna swap me out for George.
We're gonna swap
Greg
out Smith for
George
Kambosos. And I think boxing fans are just eager to see George Kambosos.
Let's get him in here now.
And the fact that he's made the trip from Australia, this is big. He's entering right now to Church Street Boxing.
We'll swap out.
And we're gonna.
All right.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
George Kambosos,
Cool,
joining me here at Matchroom's training day. He's just getting in. George, how are you feeling, my friend?
Oh man, I feel 110%. Ready to fight? It's here, finally. And you best believe I've been hanging for this.
So the biggest thing, I want you to look into that camera. This isn't a hologram, because there were so many things about you come in on the plane from Australia. People are like, is this fight going to happen? There were so many false starts. You're here. You're ready to go.
Come on, man. I've been here every single day. June 19th, I was here. Every single day I've been here. So more than anything, Lopez needs a hologram, because he's the one that's gone missing.
And that's what I wanted to ask you. Now, this fight is massive because it's a unification fight at a lightweight. There's 3 belts, and now we're hearing the WBC franchise belt is also on the line, so 4 belts. This is your huge opportunity. You're 19-0. You're 28 years old, so very much in your prime. But there's also been some bad blood, right, between you and Teofimo. At one point, you said you looked into his eyes. You said he was soulless and a fraud. Why do you feel that way?
Well, look, not only I see it, but the whole world sees it. Look at all the people that write stuff about him. They see it as well. They see his fake charisma. They see his fraud style. And I saw it firsthand in his eyes that he's not hungry. He might say he's hungry, but he's far from hungry. So, look, Saturday, all the talking is done. We're ready to fight.
And so this fight, boxing fans have been wanting this for so long because it's 2 young, undefeated fighters, both in their absolute prime, both very skilled. And we as boxing fans, this always happens in boxing. It just kept getting pushed back. There was COVID in June. Then there was the situation in October. Now it's finally in November. How frustrating was that for you, especially the situation in October, the date getting changed and all of that? What was that like for you to go through?
Look, man, I got that tunnel vision that's unbreakable. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We went through it, but every day I got better and better. Every day I was in the gym, sweating my ass off, while this fraud was out doing whatever he wanted to do, going to fights like a groupie, having fun, partying, drinking, smoking. I was sweating, blood, sweat and tears in the gym. And everything that I put into this fight and this preparation is going to be shown on Saturday night. Look at him. Look how skinny he looks. He looks frail. I might go like that too and he'll fall over. So we're ready for war.
So with the fact that you said you've seen him, because he has been ringside for many big fights, we've seen him there. Do you feel like he hasn't been training as hard as he could for this matchup? Do you think he's taking you lightly in a way?
Look, he's been in the bright lights. Beautiful. I love it. I've been in the dark, the trenches, in the war. That's what I've been. On the late night runs, in the gym when no one's there, in the cold, in the stinking heat in Miami. That's what I've been doing while he's been in the bright lights, enjoying it, having fun. Beautiful. You're the champ. You're the undisputed champ, unified champ, whatever you want to call yourself. You know what I mean? I've been putting in the hard work. So we are fully ready. We are fully prepared.
And it's going to be a massive matchup. Just a few more questions. I know you got to get in there to train. One thing I wanted to ask you about, I know you sparred with the great Manny Pacquiao. It's been reported that it was over 250 rounds with Manny Pacquiao, who just called it a career. What did you learn from Pacquiao?
Man, that experience is invaluable. You can't get a better experience. So 250 rounds with a man like that, to do everything he did, the preparations, the 12-round World Championship preparations, to the sparring, to the, the 1% training that we were doing, everything I learned from him is going to benefit me in a time like this when it's my time to shine. And I know he's supporting me. I know he's in my corner. just like I supported him in his world title fights. I know they back me and they know that I will be world champion. He said it 2-3 years ago. He goes, "You're ready to be world champion right now." I go, "Manny, my time is coming." And today, and obviously this week, my time is here.
All right, well, we're going to let you go train. I'm going to get your one final question for you. Your official prediction for Saturday night. How does the fight play out?
Victory. Victory by any means necessary. Could be a stoppage, could be a points decision, but I'm coming to win by any means necessary.
George Kambosos, thank you so much for the time. Why don't you get in there and get loose? Thank you so much. Thank you. That was George Kambosos, the challenger from Australia. And if you're watching this as a boxing fan, he's here. There's no getting on the plane. There's no issues with tickets. He is in the building. He's in New York City. This fight is happening. And I think that's the biggest thing. And we're going to be joined by George Kambosos' trainer here. How are you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Good. So we're going to see George Kambosos getting loose here. What are you feeling about his preparation? And let me start by this. This fight was supposed to happen in June, then October, then November. Is there any concern of overtraining?
You know what? George has been one of those that he's always been training. You know, he doesn't stop training. So it was normal for him to just continue, with his training, even after all the delays. So I'm not too concerned about him being overtrained.
And from your end, was there a frustration in terms of the false starts? The fight was supposed to be June, then October. Was that frustrating for you?
It was a bit, just because he was abroad, and getting him back down into the States was a little tough. So he was with his trainer out in Australia, and we were coordinating back and forth what he needs to do, what type of training and stuff like that. So that part was a little frustrating. But we got it done. We got it done, and we're here.
We're here at Church Street Boxing Gym. It's Matchroom's training day. It's the official workout for Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. I'm here with George Kambosos' trainer, Hetio Centeno. Yes.
Correct.
And George Kambosos is getting loose in there. So we know that Teofimo Lopez has power. Now, I'm sure that you've been a very interested observer watching a lot of tape. You watched his fight, I'm sure, with Vasily Lomachenko more than one time, I'm guessing. What were your thoughts on Teofimo's performance?
Just to go back a little bit, I've known Teofimo since he was, a little tight. He's come and spar at my gym. So I've seen his, career progress, and I know his style and stuff like that. So
with that said, you saw his performance against Lomachenko.
Yes,
this was a massive victory for him. He took down one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the game. What were your thoughts on his performance?
Look, he started off strong. Ended off a little weak, I think. Lomachenko started to come on a little bit more in the later rounds. So, look, it was a great performance for him. It was a great win for him, and it just it gave us this opportunity to now fight Teofimo. So, and it was something that George has been looking for.
Teofimo, when talking about George Kambosos, said he's a front foot fighter. And he said he fights with his head out and his front foot, and he feels like that's going to make him an easy target. Your response to that would be what?
Well, I'd say look at the Selby fight. He became the boxer and the counterpuncher in that fight, where everybody thought he was just going to come forward and just try to slug it out with Selby. He can adapt. He does box well. He does have good feet. So, if he's looking for somebody that's just going to stand there and lean forward, that's not George.
George, of course, proudly representing Australia. He had to make the long flight here to New York. In terms of his training, how does that affect things? Time zones are different, right? He's got to make that. There's jet lag involved. Now you got here early, obviously. So how's that going to make a difference?
Well, he did the bulk of his training in Australia. So when he came down, he was already in shape and stuff like that. We did, most of the shakeout in Miami, and then we flew down. We got in today. He's had a little over a week and a half to just acclimate to the Eastern time zone, and he feels good. He feels strong. Feels healthy, and that's we're looking to put on a show on Saturday.
And before I let you go, what do you expect to see in the fight? How is it going to play out, and what would be your official prediction?
Well, look, both guys are strong. They're both quick. Look, I see my guy winning a decision. A decision? A decision.
Okay, not a knockout.
Look, it's both guys, I think it's going to be a chess match, early on. Things may start to open up in the later rounds, or Teofimo may come out strong early, but he's been counting on knocking out George in the first round. But what happens when he goes to the third, fourth, fifth round? What Teofimo do we get?
You feel you can
do we
use
get the
his
one that
aggression
fades?
against him in a way?
We can, yes.
Well, best of luck to you and your team on Saturday night. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that you have to help George as he gets loose here. Thank you so much for the time, and
no
I'll talk to you
problem.
soon. And we're going to keep it rolling here on Matchroom's training day. There is the challenger, George Kambosos Jr., a.k.a. Ferocious. 19-0, 10 knockouts, 135 pounds, of course. And we're going to speak to more trainers, more people involved in this fight as George Kambosos gets loose. George Kambosos, he's here, he's in the flesh, I can confirm. I know boxing fans were worried about this. Is he going to get on the plane? There's been so many false starts in this fight. It's happening. And we can confirm that George Kambosos is here in New York City where the fight is taking place. And we should say that those reasons for the fight being postponed were not necessarily because of George Kambosos. Those were situations outside of his control. The first one was COVID. The second one was an issue with the network. And so that wasn't his fault. That was just the reality of the situation. I am now joined here by Mickey Away. Mick Away? Akaway. And you are one of the trainers for George Kambosos, and you spent lockdown with him. And what did you work on with George Kambosos?
Well, after the postponement of the fight, we went back to Australia. We done our camp in Australia. So we worked on certain punches to inflict pain, different sort of punches, different angles. So without saying too much, we worked on some big punches. George will land him this fight, and he'll be causing some pain, some damage.
You had to work through lockdown, and we know what happened there in Australia and the entire global pandemic. What was that like during lockdown? Were you able to train the way that you wanted to?
Yeah, we were lucky. We had a gym that was closed off to the public, a private gym. We were allowed to travel from home to the gym. With the restrictions, it was a bit hard, but we had the permits to be able to do it. So it was good. It just gave us a lot of privacy, a lot of one-on-one, and we were able to bring in the sparring partners.
We're getting a little scuffle here at the media workout. Tension's high. We apologize for the disturbance.
You down there! I'm gonna fuck you up first. Fucking chicken! You better take my name. Fuck you!
We knew that there was bad blood from both sides, and that's certainly playing a factor.
Fuck you! Shut up! Fuck this motherfucker! Shut up! Yeah! Ooh.
Hopefully, things will settle down here at the media workout. George Kambosos in the ring getting loose.
Full of shit! We love confrontation.
You hear George Kambosos there in the ring. He said, "We like confrontation." And we've been saying this isn't a manufactured storyline. The bad blood is real. The bad blood is 100% real. Both camps involved in that. Both camps do not like each other. Both camps feel like the other side made it personal. They brought in family. And the delays on the fight have only made it that much more frustrating, have only increased the bad blood, right? Because it's taken longer for us to have the resolution. It's taken us, after a fight, you commonly see fighters embrace, respect each other. That moment hasn't happened. And we're going to bring back Mick Akaway. Did I get it right this time at least? Yeah, okay. See, I'm learning. So you are one of the trainers for George Kambosos. We were talking about the difficulties of training during lockdown. You said that you did have access to the gym and you were able to train during lockdown.
Yeah, we had good access. It was a private gym, so we had access all the time, and we were able to have sparring partners. and bringing everything we needed. So we had no problem. It wasn't shut down for us. Yeah. So it was no problem for us. We were able to train right
Never
through.
away. So you were preparing originally for June, then October. And I asked George Kambosos' other trainer about this as well. Is there any concern of overtraining for this fight?
No, there is always a concern, but there's no concern with George. We stepped off the gas a little bit. We were freshened up. We just maintained a certain pace and then picked it up when we needed to. So he's ready. He's very ready for this fight.
When you look at Teofimo Lopez and his history in the ring, it looks like the scuffle is continuing
It's
here.
going on again.
But it looks like the parties have
some
been
class, boys.
removed. So when you look at Teofimo Lopez through a training lens, what does he do well? What does he not do well, in your opinion?
But look, we all know he punches well. So that's his strength. He looks for that one big punch, but it's also a weakness at the same time. So he does gas out early, and he's open to be hit. So George will wait for the right time, and he'll take his chances, and he'll hit him, and he'll hit him good. We know Lomo's a smaller bloke coming up. He has one arm. You know, George is going to be in there with full arsenal.
And let me ask you the same question about your fighter, George Kambosos. What does he do well, and what is something that maybe he could do a little bit better, or that you'd like to see more of?
George is very fit, so that's one of his strengths. He's very focused, he's very dedicated, very disciplined. He boxes very well. He's got good footwork and he's got good vision, so he's got good reflexes. So he is actually pretty hard. He's pretty hard to hit, and he's learning to sit on his punches to punch harder. So he boxes more than say punching. So I'd like to see him throw a bit more big punches every now and then when he sets up that big shot. He's letting it go. He's been letting it go in sparring. He'll bring to the ring in this fight.
Through 19 wins, George Kambosos has 10 knockouts, so close to a 50% knockout percentage. But it sounds like you're saying if he sits down in his punches, maybe he could knock out more opponents.
He can punch. George can punch. So when he wants to punch, you know, I'm sure you would see that if he sits in the mind, he wants to land some big shots, he can punch and he will land them.
George Kambosos, when asked about Teofimo, said he's really a 1-2 kind of puncher. Everything he brings to the table, I do better. Would you agree with your fighter's statement?
Yeah, 100%. Teofimo throws ones and twos. He looks for those big shots. He doesn't throw really many combinations. And George he's been working on his ones and twos, and he's got fast hands. He's got combinations, punches and bunches, and he can throw ones and twos. George can throw them.
We're seeing George Kambosos live from Church Street Boxing in Midtown Manhattan. He's getting loose. We're seeing his movement there. So in terms of geography, where in the ring do you expect this fight to take place on Saturday night? Is this going to be a phone booth fight in the center of the ring? Is this going to be one man moving and circling around the other? Where do you see the geography?
George is a smart fighter. So he'll box when he has to, and he'll come forward and hit Teofimo hard. He'll force Teofimo back. If Teofimo wants to stand still, when George wants to throw him, then we puts it a close fight. But George is a smart fighter. He'll take it as it comes.
And George actually started out as a rugby player and then transitioned into boxing. Anything that his rugby background can help him in the sport of boxing?
Yeah, well, when he was younger, he first went in rugby league. So rugby league is very physical. So you're using a lot of your body weight against the other guy's body weight. So wrestling, so on the inside, you're tying a guy up, you're wrestling, you're pushing him back, you're walking him back, you're wrestling him down. So it's all that body strength, which that will help him if Teofimo wants to try and shove him around. George will handle it.
You and the team made the long trip from Australia. We've seen a few fighters. Last week on Before the Bell, we featured Dempsey McKean, the heavyweight from Australia. They're definitely passionate about their boxers in Australia. If George is able to pull this off, what do you think the hero's welcome would be like when George goes back to Australia?
Well, it'll be huge. There's a big Greek community in Australia, but all Australians are behind George. So pulling this off, and when he does pull this off, you know, this is probably one of the biggest fights, that Australians have been in for 4 or 5 belts, all the belts in the one go, and his first fight at a world title. So this is big news for Australian boxing, and I'm sure the Australian public will get behind him and give him the welcome he deserves.
If George can pull it off, not to look ahead of this massive test, but have either you or him spoken about his plans in the sport? What does he hope to achieve in the sport of boxing?
Well, he wants to go on and defend his title and win more titles. But also he's talked about Devin Haney, so he really wants to establish his legacy as well. For him it's about history and creating history and legacy, and looking after his family. So he'll go on and look for more titles.
He certainly will. And you mentioned Devin Haney, and that seems to be an interesting fight. We're going to see Devin Haney on December 4th on Matchroom Boxing. He has the WBC regular belt, and the winner of this fight on Saturday night is going to have the WBO Lightweight Championship, the IBF, the WBA, the WBC franchise. So the only thing left will be that WBC regular belt, which Devin Haney has. But it sounds like there's a chance that could be a future opponent for George Kambosos.
That's the fight to be made. Then after George gets all his belts, get some more jewelry. Get the lot. Take that back to Australia.
It's going to be a fascinating matchup. Both men motivated. Both men, we've seen them here at the media workout. And in terms of, you've spent so much time with George. You can certainly sense his mood, sense his workouts. We're seeing him dancing here, loose. What do you sense from him right now? Where's he at mentally?
Yeah, he's very focused. He's in a good mental spot. He's always got his mind on the job. He's never distracted. So he's mentally tough, physically tough, mentally strong. He's always in a good spot, and he's been doing a lot of work with his strength trainer. So he's looking bigger and stronger.
And when he saw Teofimo Lopez, he said, "This guy looks skinny." Did you have a chance to eye up Teofimo Lopez, and do you echo those thoughts?
He's looking skinnier than he normally looks, but at the moment he's dropping away, so they tend to look a lot smaller. But George is prepared for a big Lopez. Don't worry, George is prepared for a Lopez that can punch, can fight, and he's ready to take it to him.
Well, I can't wait. I'm sure you can't wait. The fans can't wait. It's actually happening November 27th. The main event, George Kambosos versus Teofimo Lopez. Mick Ackway, I want to thank you for joining me here on Matchroom's training day. And I'm glad you were able to give us some insights into George Kambosos' training.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And come on, Australia, get behind George. Come on, all of Australia, get behind him.
And if you were watching from home, thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you were watching from home, our live stream here at Matchroom Boxing, this has been training day from Church Street Boxing Gym in Midtown Manhattan. And there's a lot of takeaways to be said. Two motivated young men. This is what we want in our sport, right? This isn't a fight that's past his prime. This isn't a guy that's older in age. These aren't guys who have losses or are trying to come back from something. These are two young, undefeated fighters looking to both make statements in the sport of boxing, and the fight is finally coming together. Teofimo Lopez, the unified champion at lightweight, is putting 3 belts on the line, plus the WBC franchise belt. George Kambosos is the challenger from Australia. He's coming all the way to make this is going to be the biggest opportunity of his life. And we also have a stacked undercard. We have fighters that we spoke to here at the media workout. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Tune in on Saturday night. First up, it's going to be Matchroom's Before the Bell, and then it's going to be on The Zone, the main card, of course, headlined by Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos. And there will be a press conference tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern, a weigh-in on Friday, and then, of course, a big night of fights on Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been Matchroom's Training Day. I'm Karan Bhatia, signing off from Church Street Gym in Midtown Manhattan.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. It's now time for the featured bout of the evening. From the 4 corners of the world to the 4 corners of this ring, the fight starts now!
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special. And there's no hype. I'm telling you, it's special.
No respect to this guy. Let's go.
Now he's got that fire in his eyes. You better believe it now. That was something special. Canelo gets the win. 20 rounds, strong team victories. It is over. Her professional record, a perfect one.
Remember, capture the body.
Great finish from a great finisher.
It was Lamb versus Lion. And still, the undisputed champion of the Well,